Hi everyone, Mayor Drew Dilkens here. Welcome to another edition of Mayor's Minute. As you can see, I'm standing out front of our Old City Hall, and as we're taping this particular Mayor's Minute, it's fireworks night in the city of Windsor. And many of you have emailed in saying you want to see what it looks like in the Old City Hall once the asbestos is gone, once everything's been abated, and once it's been cleared out. We're going to take you in right now, and we're going to see what it looks like. We got to wear safety glasses, but I'll tell you, I'm looking forward to seeing the old city council chambers and the old mayor's office. Come on in, let's take a look. Okay, so we're here on site with James Hyink. James is the site supervisor for budget demolition. They're the ones responsible for taking down the old city hall, but they're no stranger to Windsor. They've also taken down the old Grace Hospital site, and just last year took down the old Riverside Brewery. So James, we're going to walk into the old city hall. What can we expect to see when we get inside?
Well, the abatement has been 100% done at this point. What you can expect is steel structure to be exposed, all the furniture, all the final finishes from the building to be completely removed, and all the abatement to be completely done.
Well, let's go take a look. We're in the lobby now of the old 350 City Hall building. When you look up at the ceiling, everything's exposed. Some of the piping is wrapped in insulation. Can you, by looking with the naked eye and someone with experience like you, can you see whether asbestos is present or not?
In certain things, yes, you can see. Just judging by experience, you know that a floor tile contains asbestos. But when it comes to fireproofing, a lot of fireproofing you have to get tested and has to be looked at under a microscope before you make that assumption, just to be sure. This here is non-containing, that's why it's still present. If we look in the rest of the building, you'll see that all the asbestos-containing material has been removed.
Okay, let's keep going. Oh, wow. So this is the old finance department, and I can just walk right through now. Wow. It's just very different to see it like this, isn't it? Now the elevators, everyone wants to know. The old English lady who was on the elevator who would announce each floor and lobby level, is she still present? Can we hear her?
Unfortunately, no. The elevators have not been working for a few months. They quit working, I would say, probably about early March of this year.
I think we're going to go up to the fourth floor to the building department. Let's see what their old space used to look like. Okay, we're on the fourth floor where the building department used to be, as you can see. And boy, you're going to be quite surprised when you see this place stripped down. But we have to stay 6 feet away because if you fall down through here, you're going to end up in council chambers if you worked in the building department. Here's what the space looks like. Great view from up here, though. Wow.
So just to kind of give perspective a little bit, just because the lighting is a little bit better here. So if you look up at the ceiling, all the steel structure, the bottom sides of all the floors, so in this case it'd actually be the roof, every piece of steel that you see here was encased in asbestos fireproofing. And that is the process in which they have to go through. They have to gain access to it. So here we had 2 false ceilings. They had to be removed. All the ductwork, all the piping, everything's got to be removed prior to actually removing the asbestos. Then they soak everything down. They take scrapers, literally a 4-inch scraper, and they sit there and they scrape the whole ceiling. Once that's completed, they take a wire brush. They brush every square inch of every piece that contains asbestos, and then everything gets power washed and cleaned top to bottom.
And so what kind of protective equipment do people wear when they're removing asbestos?
So with this particular fireproofing, we require that you wear a hard hat and a full face respirator, a Tyvek suit, and safety boots. Also, with this type of asbestos, we require to run negative air pressure. So every opening on this floor, actually in the whole building, would have been sealed off with polyproof orange poly, which you guys may have seen. Once that poly is installed, we set up what's called negative air machines. What that does is it sucks air from the outside, it filters it, from the inside, it filters it and pushes it to the outside. So no asbestos leaves the building. It all gets caught in the filter in the negative air machine.
When you remove asbestos from all of the pipes and the beams here, where does it go? How is it properly disposed of?
So everything from this building has been bagged twice. It comes out of the building in what's called a super sack. We put several super sacks into a roll-off bin, and then that gets disposed of in a registered landfill. We never take anything for granted. We always do what's called a designated substance survey before we start hitting a building, just to make sure that we have all hazardous materials removed before we start demolition. Here we have an example of cross bracing. This is so that as we demolish the building, when we get to this point, if we leave these last two bays standing and we get a 20-kilometer-an-hour wind with the exterior wall still intact, this building without this cross bracing has the potential to tip over. So that's why we've installed the cross bracing, so that if we get any movement this way, the lines will become taut and it'll prevent it from falling over.
So here we are on the third floor, and a lot of folks in Windsor will know about the third floor at the Old City Hall because this is where our City Council chambers were. Except you'd get off the elevator and you'd walk through a normal entrance to get into, well, I guess it's called Council Hall right now, or whatever, however you want to say it with the remaining letters that are there. But we have a shortcut to be able to get into City Hall and City Council chambers right now because part of the wall has just been removed. It looks so much bigger. We're standing in the room that used to be our in-camera room, the town of Walkerville room, and the adjacent room was the town of Ojibwe room. And this is where City Council used to conduct all of the in-camera meetings that it had before the regular council meetings. So James was just telling me there was something interesting found in one of the walls in this room. James, what was it?
We found in between the two rooms was lead. There was a big lead, almost like a carpet, in between the two rooms. We've really only experienced that before with hospitals to keep x-rays in x-ray rooms. It was a bit of a surprise, but needless to say, it was disposed of properly and recycled the way it should have been.
Okay, we're on the second floor. Second floor of Old City Hall, of course, was the CAO's office, the mayor's office, and the city clerk's office. So right here we have the old CAO's office and all of his staff. In this case, it was her staff too, because Helga Rydell was our first female CAO. Some offshoot offices here. Any surprises on the second floor, James?
No surprises, just your old office.
Well, let's go take a look. Wow, it seems so small now, this room. Here we are in the former office of the mayor of the city of Windsor, since City Hall was built in the mid-1950s. And boy, it looks a lot smaller than I remember it being. Our new City Hall, with the way we built City Council chambers, made it more accessible for the public, put a lot of the services on the first floor. It certainly is better form and function today to serve the needs of the residents of the city of Windsor. But this was a great office, lots of great discussions in here. I certainly enjoyed my first term and my time in here, and certainly not sorry to see it go. I never looked back when we walked out of this building because frankly, one of the things, and everyone who used to work at City Hall, certainly for the last decade or 20 years will agree, it's nice to be in a building where the air condition works and the heat works. And here we have the city clerk's office and all the staff that ran elections and licensing and all of the support services for city council. Corporate communications was in this space as well.
Today, because abatement's been completed, we're down to only a handful of people. There's probably only going to be about half a dozen people in total to do the actual demolition. And we're hoping by early to mid-September to be completed.
So about 8 months in all to decommission, remediate, or abate the asbestos and actually take the entire building down. And when it's done, what will people in the city of Windsor see when the building's actually gone?
I'm hoping green grass.
So James, I'm sure you're hearing this too, as am I, from a lot of folks at City Hall, and they're saying, when is the wrecking ball coming in to take down the old City Hall? And we know that's probably not the case, but we don't expect Miley Cyrus coming to the city of Windsor with her wrecking ball to take it down. How will you be taking it down?
We'll be using a 45-ton high-reach excavator equipped with a shear. This thing will go through from anything from concrete to steel I-beams to wire to insulation. You put it in a building, you name it, this will cut it.
So can you talk to us a little bit about the kind of measures you'll take when you actually remove the building and when you start demolishing the building rather, in order to mitigate the impacts on the adjacent neighborhood?
One of the biggest things that we do is the dust suppression. So we have what we call the snowmaker. This is a fan that shoots a lot of water into the air at once. It tries to get as much dust out of the air as possible and get it to the ground so that we don't have any dust leaving our site. Besides that, we try to go through the building as methodically as possible. Everything is split into sections here. We take it down section by section, piece by piece. It's not like we come in with a wrecking ball and just go wild. because that can be very dangerous, not only to us, but also to the public.
So this is all part of our green initiative with this City Hall. We're going to take the rubble that we create, we're going to crush it on site, we're going to use it for the fill on site, less gas that we have to put into trucks, less stuff that goes to landfill, less cost, being able to do it on site, and it's all part of that green initiative. So lots of great things happening. A lot of thought was put into decommissioning this building. It's an exciting time, but before we go, let's go outside. We have one more thing to talk about. So there are two things that people have brought up to us that they're really interested in, and some people, in some cases, concerned about, and that is, how are we going to make sure that we're not doing any damage to All Saints Church or St. Alphonsus, both historic sites in the city of Windsor, very close to the demolition that's happening here. We have installed, because of our consulting engineers and their expertise, installed 5 seismic monitors, also known as vibration sensors, that we will be monitoring to make sure that the demolition doesn't have a negative impact on our neighbors as we work through the decommissioning process. And the other question people have asked is, what are you going to do with the wall behind me that's, you see the hoarding? That wall is the wall that contained the biblical inscription from Micah. And they wanted to know what we're going to do. Is that going to be part of the demolition? In fact, we're going to save the part of the wall where the inscription is. We're going to move that to our parks yard, and we're hoping to reincorporate that back into our new Civic Plaza, the design that is still going to happen in the very near future. And it's a design that we're going to include you in the conversation. We want to know what the public wants to see in their new Civic Plaza. And it'll be a chance for the public to come out, give their ideas, give their feedback. And I expect, because skating is so popular, you're going to see some requests for skating moved closer to the new City Hall, probably a water feature in the summer and in the spring and fall months. And so it's a real exciting opportunity to really finish that vision that was talked about some 70 years ago, creating a Civic Plaza that leads from the new City Hall all the way down to the waterfront. So thank you for watching this edition of Mayor's Minute. If you have anything else you'd like to see, anything you want us to, anyone you want us to talk to, or anything you want to see in the City of Windsor, drop us an email at the address on the screen. Thanks for watching, and we hope to bring more updates about the decommissioning of City Hall, because it's going to continue to happen until about mid-September. Watch for those updates. Thanks again for watching.